All right, awesome. So thank you to everyone who is joining us live. Obviously, this is going to be recorded. It's going to be available for anybody to catch up. So the goal of today is to break through our ceiling. And most people, I would think, who are on this call or watching this recorded have hit some sort of ceiling in their life, in their business, or potentially both. So I hit my ceiling because I came from a tiny little island in the Bahamas called Green Turtle Key. And when I moved to Charleston, I knew no one. So I used to cold call for 2 hours a day. And eventually, the ceiling that I hit were time constraints, right? Because there are only so many hours in the day that you can cold call, only so many people you can contact. And maybe your ceiling is that you started out selling to friends and family, but after a while, you ran out of friends and family. Maybe your ceiling is that you have a ton of friends and family, you have a huge sphere and database, and they're not sending you deals because you are not staying in touch with them the way you should. You are not showing them your value as a professional and generally not keeping in touch with them. So there are many ways that people can hit ceilings, even if they are super successful agents. So I believe that the way to break through the ceiling is systems. And I have people all the time going like, oh my God, are you kidding me? We're going to talk about systems. But I believe that systems are a piece of leverage. We talk about leverage a lot in hiring people, and that's very common in real estate. However, systems are also leverage. And I want to focus on 4 different types of systems that are leverage and talk about how we're going to put this puzzle piece together. So some systems are implemented technology. With EXP, we have kvCore, which is free to us. So we are going to talk about implementing kvCore at a high level. We can also leverage proven, repeatable processes. We're going to talk about some of those as well. Because when you have a proven process and you leverage that by putting that process in place, then the system begins to work for you, which is the leverage and your predictable results. We're also going to talk about leveraging the scale of media. So a one-to-one conversation, right, which is the expired call, the for sale by owner phone call that I hit my ceiling at, is a one-to-one conversation. When we leverage social media, digital media, what we're doing is we're taking that one-to-one conversation and we're spreading it into a one-to-many conversation by breaking it up into multiple pieces, by using multiple platforms. So I believe digital media is a huge piece of leverage for all of us. Now, in these unprecedented times, we are going into a recession. It will happen. And I want to challenge everybody who's listening to this to think about emotional leverage. So what is emotional leverage? Now, this is not necessarily a system, but I think it's going to be very important for anyone on this call who wants to achieve at a high level. The best form of emotional leverage is fear. So we can leverage our emotions to help us move forward faster. It could be the fear of not making enough money this year. It could be the fear of competing with someone you think you're better than, and you want to make sure that, you show them you're more capable. It may be that you're competing with yourself and you want to achieve at the highest possible level, and you want to be better this year than you were last year. Sometimes, not all the time, because it's not really emotionally positive to live in this space all the time. Sometimes we can use our emotions and that fear to leverage us getting to our goals faster. So I would challenge all of us to say, okay, what can we leverage to help us implement systems? Because this is not something that people wake up in the morning and they cannot wait to log into kvCore and see what their task list is for the day. So how can we get into the right mindset that this in the next 12 weeks becomes a system or habit that is bringing you your bottom line? So as I said, habits are also systems. And people say, well, how is a habit a system? Well, When you have a habit, it means you do something without thinking. It's habitual. And I know that when you are not thinking about what you have to do, when you have to do it, keeping track of a schedule, when things are on the automatic, you have more headspace to think about higher dollar per hour activities. So I would challenge all of us to also start creating habits, routines, things that we do without thinking to implement these systems. And I think this is a very important thing to remember as we go through this process. Without systems in your life, you react to the demands that people put on you and your time rather than controlling the hours in your day to achieve the success you desire. Part of this is habits, right? If you get up in the morning and you pick up your phone and you start to scroll, that's a habit. It's a habit that is keeping you from getting yourself in the right mindset in the morning, right? Of prayer, meditation, inspiration, some quiet time for yourself, whatever it is that gets you in the right energetic mindset for the day, that's what should be happening in the morning. That's a habit. That is a system. And if we have a lead generation time block where we know between the hours of 8 and 10 or 7 and 9 or 9 and 11, whatever it is, that is going to be our lead generation time. That habit, that system of going into kvCore and pulling out what you're supposed to do for that day becomes a habit. And then we can start thinking about other things because we're in the habit of following up with our leads the way we should be. So what will I do? We're going to talk about technology and we're going to talk about repeated, proven processes. When you do this, what will you do? You need to create some emotional leverage in your life. You need to create a reason why you are going to dive into this and make this happen in your business, because I guarantee you that at the end of this 12 weeks, you are going to be in a completely different place in your business and you are going to be ready to rocket launch and really dial in that lead generation so that you can blow up your business. And you have to create the habits in order to do it. So let's go. So we talked about the modules. I'm going to quickly go over them again. We're going to identify your brand and niche down. We're going to do tracking and budgeting systems, lead generation systems. We're going to do repeat and referral systems, YouTube, farming, and we're going to go deep into your sphere and how you're going to contact that sphere. A lot of this is going to be video based. We are going to talk about video. We're going to talk about video equipment. We're going to talk about all that good stuff because I don't care what you look like. I don't care what you think about yourself and your ability to get in front of a camera. There are people out there that need you to help them, and only you can help them because they're going to connect with you in a way that they would never connect with anyone else. So getting in front of video is really about helping the people out there who have not found you yet. We're going to talk about lead conversion, and a lot of this is going to be in kvCore. And I'm going to give you all of the dialogues, scripts, cadences, everything. And we're going to talk about getting more done in less time, which is time management, time blocking, and then, of course, leverage with people. So we're starting with our brand. Your brand made simple. Okay, we are not going to go super deep into some massive branding expedition. Why? Because this is not rocket science, it's real estate. Okay, where all we need to do is clearly and consistently communicate who I am and the value I bring to my avatar. Your avatar is your chosen demographic group. We're going to talk a little bit about that today as well. So clearly, consistently communicate who I am and the value I bring to my avatar. So why are we starting with your brand? It's kind of like, well, how is this even a system? And I would challenge you to think that every single real estate system, all of the lead generation, all of the lead follow-up, everything you're going to put out on social media and video and everything else is a layer of value that you are bringing to your avatar. If you do not have a clear idea of who you are as a real estate agent, there's no way you're going to be able to communicate that consistently. And you need to be able to layer the value directly geared towards one type of person. Now, I said this before, I'll say it again. It is okay to niche down. You are not going to miss out on opportunities because the right people will find you regardless. And yes, you are going to repel some people, and that is okay because you don't want to do business with them anyway. So let's do this. So we're going to talk about your niche. Who am I? And I love this quote from Ed Milet. You are most qualified to help the person you used to be. And I want to pause there for just a second. So we have all had past experiences in our lives. We have lived places other people may not have lived. We have gone through childhood trauma, maybe that other people have not been through. We may have had a relationship issue. We may have had children that tried to commit suicide. We may have had parents that had died young or needed to, transfer to a nursing home, and maybe that went really poorly, right? Maybe they were taken advantage of. But we have all grown into the people that we are now through our past experiences. I told you a lot of bad ones, but there are a lot of good ones as well. And you are most qualified to help the person that you used to be in real estate. So when I talk about the niche and I say, who am I look at my past and say, who was I then? And what have I learned to get to where I am now? And how can I identify with a group of people based on that person and the challenges that I have overcome? And if we can hit the holy grail, we want to get in a market of one. And the best way to describe the market of one is to maybe think back to our college days, right? And if we went to a bar and it was 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and we came out and we were a little tipsy and there's a hot dog stand right outside of that bar. It's the only place that's open in the entire college town, right? The hot dogs are terrible and they're $15 for a hot dog. And that hot dog stand is going to make a ton of money. Why? Because it's in a market of one. It is the only place that is open. It is the only option at 3 o'clock in the morning when a bunch of drunk college students are walking out of the bar. So if we can find a way to get into a market of one, then we will be able to capture a larger percentage of our avatar because we will be 100% clear on what we are serving, what our value proposition is, and it will be completely directed to the person who cannot get that value proposition anywhere else. And I'm not going to go super heavy into layering the value, but I will say that something else to think about, particularly as an EXP agent, is once you find that niche or that market of one, or as close to it as you can, how else can you layer value into that market? Meaning, could you create a spreadsheet, a piece of software, a course for that type of person, a book, an ebook? Is there anything else that you can layer in there that would create potentially passive income for you, even if the ebook is $5, and would also help that avatar be able to better understand your city, your area, whatever it is. So after every single one of these classes, I am going to give everybody what I'm going to call success work. This is not homework. This is what is going to help you be a success and move you forward. So I am going to, in the chat, drop in the sheet that I am going to ask everyone to look at. And the beauty of this sheet is that it is going to give you a roadmap to discovering your niche. It's going to ask you some very important questions that are going to help you determine who that niche is. Okay, that's in the chat for anyone who wants to pull it down. I am, however, also also going to open it up for you so that we can look at it together. Okay. So to break this down, we're going to ask some primary questions. And the reason we're asking these primary questions is we want to know who we can connect with at a deep level. So I put on here, what experiences have I had that have defined me as a person? Travel, language, divorce, sports, abuse, positive, negative, whatever it is. What jobs or careers have I had that I could bring value to a real estate transaction, right? I was a senior financial analyst. I love numbers. Maybe that helps me translate to investors. So think about construction, accounting, financial, decorating, horse farming, antiques, property management. What jobs have you had in the past that will help you bring value in the real estate transaction? Where have you lived? Are there people migrating from these areas where you live now? One of the most successful branding location agents here in Charleston calls herself the Yankee Southern Realtor because she is from New York. So she is a Yankee helping people acclimate to the South. And let me tell you how many people are very nervous, including myself, when I moved to the South because I had a very misrepresented idea of what the South was and what Charleston was. So people that are nervous about that are completely magnetized to this woman, and she does about 50 million a year by herself. So it's a great avatar. Have you won any awards or had notoriety that you could use as leverage? And this is not like I was on the dean's list, right? We're talking Olympic medals, been on TV, something like that. Hobbies that you are passionate about. I have seen plenty of agents who are huge car buffs, and they are attracting people who also love cars and want to know, where should I live? Where are the car clubs? Where can I race? Where can I, what are the mechanic shops? Where do I get parts? Like all this other stuff. So this is a great way to connect with your people and help them acclimate to your city as well. How can these hobbies translate to both buyers and sellers? And I put on here, sell to them specifically. If our values match, even our financial status matches, then I can understand who you are and you immediately have that comfortability or that familiarity, right? One of the biggest challenges on a listing appointment is how do you create that familiarity? How do you create rapport? If you are creating content or you are out there talking to your specific avatar, then you already have that thing in common. You already have that bond of familiarity, and they are much more likely to purchase from you. And I will say, just to throw in a little bit of marketing stuff in here, right? The best way to get people to purchase anything, even if it's to believe in you as a real estate agent, is that level of familiarity, right? Which is why Dan Kennedy says, whoever can spend the most money on marketing wins, right? You can have the worst product and still be number one in the market due to the level of familiarity. So what problems have happened in my life that I could solve for others? The easiest one to think of is somebody who had a horrible relocation. And so they become a real estate agent because they want to help people relocate, right? I have an autistic son. Let me tell you how hard it's going to be for me to list my home, right? So part of one of the things that I do is help other autistic parents or parents of autistic children understand how best to list their home in an environment that will be conducive for the children as well. What age client will respect and value me? So what we know is that you can go about 10 years above you and about 10 years below you, and you will hit that magic number. It's going to be really hard as a 60-year-old to have a millennial say, yeah, that's my person, so stay in that bandwidth. And what can I do better than anyone else? That's an obvious one, right? Secondary questions to ask. So after you've answered those things, what types of properties are predominant in my location? So here in Charleston, it's basically single family homes, condos, townhouses, whatever. We do have beach, boat, dock. That's a specialty. You may live in an area where they have farming and ranches. You may have, it's a lot of vacant land. You may be out in Arizona where you've got huge, massive chunks and they've got desert and all kinds of stuff, right? In Charleston, one of the biggest challenges we have is you get a big piece of land, but you can only build on this much of it, right? So being that waterfront expert could be a bonus. What are the emerging trends in my market? Could you get ahead of something? Would you like to be eco-friendly or smart home or whatever it is? And are there underserved areas in my market? Are there people that are not being taken care of that's a large enough demographic or niche that you could specialize in it? But I do believe these are secondary because we have to ask who we are first and what we can bring to the table, because we know that we're going to do that inherently. It is going to be who we are and we're going to do it and love it versus trying to force ourselves to fit into some niche based on what's an up and coming trend, right? So we want to marry the two. Find your category of one. So based on the answers above, what is the category of one that I could be focusing on dominating? And it may be that when you look at it, you're just like, Robin, you know, it's real estate. How many categories of one could there possibly be in real estate, right? And I would challenge you to say that if you get good enough at something, you can make your own category of one. It's almost like Gary Vee says about the internet, right? Like you can literally make money at anything these days, right? Even if it's, I love Smurfs, you can become the Smurf expert and all of a sudden, you know, you're able to do things with a category of people that love Smurfs that nobody else can do. So I would say, look at what you know you can do well, what you're interested in doing, what embodies you as an agent and a human being, and say, how can I make that a market of one, right? I know Brandon's done an amazing job with short-term rentals in the Hilton Head market, right? He has branded himself as the guy. If you want to buy a second home property and you want a short-term rental it, I'm your guy, right? Maybe that seems like an obvious one, right? I love working with families of autistic children. That's a pretty narrow market, but let me tell you how many ADHD and autistic kids there are out there now, right? It can be something like maybe you feel like your religion and your Christianity is something that's really important to you and you feel like it identifies you. You know, you could be the person who can help people find the right church. I think there are amazing ways that you can help both listings and buyers based on who you are. So who is your market of one? How do you make it a market of one? I put some ideas here: cancer survivors, car guys, beach property owners, families with young children, single moms, divorced men, right? Like who's taking care of divorced men? That could be a fantastically funny niche. Sellers who are going to nursing homes. It's really, really challenging these days to find a great place. My mom's coming to town. We're going to like 13 places. It's insane how many places there are to choose from. And just knowing that market, knowing the different places, knowing what's important, not important, all of this could be an amazing way to get buyers to use you and to pay you, right? As we're continuing to fight for our commissions as buyers agents, how are you in that market of one so people hire you because they would never go with anyone else. They would never think of buying with anyone else because your knowledge, your expertise is so important to them. So who is your avatar? Write everything you know about the person that fits into this category of one. And the reason I say that is you need to know who they are. What is their age? What is their gender? Where do they live? Where do they shop? What is important to them? What are their values? How old are they normally, right? Well, we talked about age. You can talk about fashion. You can talk about cars they drive. You can really talk about anything because the better you know or have defined this avatar in your mind, the clearer you can be in communicating to that person. And the last step of who is your avatar is what networks do these people run in? I think that's going to be a huge piece. Clarify your unique value proposition. What resources would this avatar need when buying or selling in your city? What can you do for them that no one else can do? How can you make them feel during the buying or selling process that no one else can do? Are they going to have certainty? Are they going to have emotional connection with you? Are they going to feel taken care of? Right? In sales, we say nobody remembers what you say, they remember how they made you feel. So is there something that you can do to help them feel a certain way during that process? And then how are you uniquely qualified to help them? And this piece ties back to the primary question of what in your past, what is your story? And how are you going to communicate that story to the people out there in both text and in video? And the last piece is how to reach your avatar. So in real estate, the biggest thing out there right now is content, right? So making content is going to be a huge part of lead generation. It's going to be a huge part of past client and sphere retention and referrals. And then how can you connect with that person in person, right? What networks are they in? Where are they hanging out? Are they in clubs? Are they in, wherever it is? That piece is going to be hugely important as well, because in your city, that face-to-face, that body-to-body is so incredibly important. And even if it's not a face-to-face and it starts out as a face to Zoom, it's getting that face-to-face is what's really going to get you those repeat and referral businesses. So this document right here is your success homework. I'm hoping everybody completes this. You have 2 weeks to do it. Our next meeting in 2 weeks, same bat time, same bat channel. I would love to have everybody email me what they have done prior to, and that is like an accountability piece. I'm going to drop in the chat my email. And I would love to see what you have written down. This should not take you that long. Do not overthink this. If this is innately who you are, it should come out very naturally. The only thing that may take you some time is really brainstorming who is that avatar, maybe doing some research on that, but really make this about you and what comes naturally. All right. Is there anyone that is out there that has a question prior to us jumping off in a minute? Okay. I will take that as a no. Hopefully it's very upfront and straightforward. Thank you, Jim. Yes, absolutely. This is recorded. It will be up on the Impact Worldwide Facebook page, and the link to Joni, the link to the success work is in the top of this chat. It's a Word document. So just click download, and I'll stay on here for a minute or two so you guys can click download. But that's the Word document, and I will ask Deb to upload that to the Impact Facebook page as well, so that everybody can grab it if you were unable to make this call. All right. Well, I promised you all we would start on time and end on time so you guys can plan your day. I respect your time, and I'm really excited to see what everybody does and puts together before our next meeting in 2 weeks. Have an awesome day, guys.